If you're anything like me, you lead a very full life. Some things you do because you have to, some things you do because you want to. But either way, you've got a lot going on. So this episode goes out to all of you creative souls who are struggling to find the time and energy to devote to your art. So if your art keeps getting put on the back burner, or it's like a special treat that you've been saving for last, but then you have no energy for it at the end of the day, you're going to want to come on in, grab a cup of tea, an iced coffee, a glass of rosé, whatever you're feeling in the moment, because we're about to have a little heart-to-heart. Because guess what? I'm right there with you in the thick of it. Welcome to Reawaken Your Voice. I'm Lainey Crawford, holistic voice coach, singer, song weaver. I believe the song in your heart holds medicine for yourself and for the world. And yet too often, something happens along the way. We shut down our voice and our song goes unsung. Whether you stopped singing years ago or have always harbored an unrealized dream to start, if you're ready to finally give voice to those unsung songs in your heart, then take my hand as I guide you to free yourself from the inner critic, reignite your creativity, find your courage, sing with confidence, and reawaken those dormant parts of yourself aching for a revival. So dust off your songbooks, tune up your guitar, bust out your singing bowls, your shakers, your drum. Actually, all you really need is your voice, your breath, open ears, and an open heart. Let's play. So I spent some time working on my houseplants this past weekend because they were in need of some serious lovin'. But it got me thinking about our creative flower and how often we pour into it or don't pour into it, as was the case with my houseplants. But I realized recently that it had been a while since I really poured into my songs and got deeper into my voice practice and into the creative zone. I've been struggling to really create that quality, uninterrupted time with my music that my soul just craves. I've spoken a little bit about this in previous episodes, but I have this recording project that I'm working on. But it's moving so slowly. Because it's that kind of project that it really requires me to focus my energy, dive deep. It's not a surface level kind of project. It's more of like a scouring of the depths of the soul kind of project. So I needed to create some space to intentionally pour into my music and, nourish my creative spirit. So whenever I feel my voice practice, my creative practice start to slip, because it happens, I go back to these concepts that I'll share with you today. Because it's not something that happens just once as an artist. I have often talked about when I stopped singing, that dark period of my life when I really stepped away from music. But it doesn't always look like that. It doesn't always look like some big gap or distance. Sometimes it creeps up on you. And it comes back around through the cycles and seasons of life. But what I've realized is that you learn more and more each time you feel your art kind of start to slip away a little bit. You learn about what it really takes for your personal creative spirit to feel uplifted and rejuvenated and revitalized. So today I'm going to share with you what has worked for me and what I come back to again and again, because I know so many of you are struggling with the same thing. We lead full lives, full of really beautiful things and, full of some really hard stuff too. Full of the daily little pieces of just maintaining. But when you want to go deeper and you know that you want to do more than just fit your music in, just fit it in, just squeeze it in, you want more. There are certain things you can do to really create an environment for your creativity to thrive. So I want you to know that you're not alone if you too are struggling to create the time and space for your art. For me personally, I went from having time and space to pour into my music to having another human's life depend on me. Before motherhood, I could just flow where the creativity took me for as long as I wanted. Of course, I still had obligations and responsibilities, but I had less time constraints, generally speaking. I could enter the creative zone on a whim, and I could just follow the whisper of a song through the whole process without interruption or being needed elsewhere. I had more time to daydream, more energy, more sleep. And right now I have a toddler who is not sleeping very well. So it's been an adjustment of finding out, how can I weave music into my daily life? How can I set aside time to fully pour into my art and still be pouring into and nourishing this sweet, precious child? Now, all of this to say, if you're a mom, I know you feel me. But even if not, this still applies when you have a full life, or you're in a busy season of life, or you feel like you're needed elsewhere, or there are more important things to do, or other things you should be doing. When it comes to finding uninterrupted time for singing and making music and, creating space in your life for your creativity to flourish, I like to think of it like this. It's like watering your creative flower. So much like caring for my houseplants. There's a sprinkling and there's a pouring. So sprinkling is like the maintenance, the upkeep, the things you do to just keep it alive, keep it going from day to day. And then there's the pouring, the repotting, bringing the plants outside before a rainstorm to really get that downpour, or leaving them out for some sunbathing to soak up those rays. In terms of our creative practice, the sprinkling and the pouring are both needed in order for that creative flower within us to thrive. So sprinkling, as we apply this to our music making, our singing, our creative practice, it's those small moments of making music and singing and just having some creative play where we are infusing it into the cracks of the day. The little moments here and there where we can look for an opportunity to, pick up the guitar and just pluck a few strings and hum something that's been flowing through our mind, or to integrate it into things we're already doing. So for me, when I'm spending time with my son, this is something I'm already doing, but we are making up songs together, for those little transitions or the daily rituals, things we do. Just play, we're making up little songs. I'm letting him play my instruments, and we're reading books that are actually songs, like What a Wonderful World and A Little Help from My Friends. We have books that use the lyrics to this, and we sing the songs. So these are just little ways that I'm sprinkling music into our day. And this is something we can do intentionally as artists. One of the most powerful daily sprinklings that I have discovered throughout the years is something I've mentioned before. It's the morning pages. Julia Cameron writes extensively about this in her book, The Artist's Way. And, that's one thing that I pulled from that book that just comes back again and again. I always come back to this. Whenever my creative well needs filling, I know I have to get back to my morning pages. So the morning pages are just a creative practice, very simple, where you write whatever is flowing out of you, 3 pages. Now, depending on the size of your journal, I have a pretty big one right now, and I'm like, 1 page, let's do that. But it's allowing enough of your thoughts to kind of flow out and clear out to make room for the creative flow to show up, kind of clearing the mind and getting deeper into the heart space, deeper into that creative play zone. So this is something I would recommend trying. Different things work for different people, but this is something that I come back to again and again. It's a practice that makes such a big difference in my life. So to do some writing, maybe you'll have to wake up a little earlier. Maybe you'll see an opportunity somewhere in your day where you can just sit down and let the words flow out of you. These don't have to be morning pages. Although, yes, it is really helpful to, set up your day beautifully by clearing it out and then allowing that space to open up for the rest of the day. But you know what? We just got to do what works sometimes, and what works for us in the current season of life. So wherever you can fit that in, just some kind of creative practice that helps you open up and let it flow. So then there's the pouring. This is devoted creative time where you really get to go deep with your music. This may require reaching out for support, tapping into your support system so that you can really schedule focused, devoted time to your creative practice. So this means actually scheduling it. Like, it can be hard to think of scheduled creative time. But you can play within certain parameters, time boundaries. Just like the playground has like borders, it's just a container within which to play. So if you schedule it in, you can do it regularly, depending on your capacity, what you really have time for right now in your life. But you can schedule something weekly. You can schedule something twice a month, monthly, quarterly. Anything is better than nothing. But this is your deep creative time, not the little sprinkling you do throughout your days. This is like scheduling regular time to go deep. And this time is solely devoted to singing, writing, making music, practicing, whatever your capacity. Like I said, twice a week, amazing. Once a month to go deep, yes. Whatever you can do, schedule it in. It is your creative time to go deep. So like I said, this may require asking for help, which is not the easiest thing to do for many people. For me, that's always been a struggle. But you're tapping into your support system, asking for help, asking for accountability, And this may also require you to kind of audit your time, like look at your life and what you're spending your time doing. And could you substitute this for something else you usually do? So part of this is doing an assessment of your life, the time that you spend from day to day, doing these things that we usually do. What can you cut out or do less of so that you can make this a priority, so that you can pour into your music and your creativity? And where are you not seeing the opportunities that are already there for you? So where can you do some sprinkling and where can you do some pouring? The sprinkling, daily life, just letting it be woven into your daily life. And where can you really set aside some quality time? Also recognize that there are seasons in life. I'm coming back to the houseplants again. But sometimes I know these plants just have to make it through the winter. Like they're not doing well. They need to just make it through the winter until we can get them out onto our sun porch. Even if they're not thriving, I know as long as I keep sprinkling, the time will come where I can really pour into them the way that they need it. There may be a season in your life where you just don't have the capacity to fully pour into your music. And that's okay. That's okay. You can have time to intentionally rest. But give it a container. Give it a time frame. Otherwise, it may dwindle away until you wonder what happened to the part of you that loved to sing. Or you take your final breath with your music still inside of you. So what can you do in this season? And what if it were your last season? How could you integrate music into your life even here, even now, even in this season? In this season of motherhood, I'm doing a music class with my son. We go to a singing circle with other children and their parents and caregivers. And, that is so nourishing for his social and emotional development, but also my creative spirit, as well as his, of course. Like, we're doing this together. We're singing together. We're making up silly songs together in the cracks of the day. How can you bring music into your life in this season? It may look different than other seasons. There were seasons of my life where I was performing every day, every other day, and now is not a performing season of my life. Kind of in a different place, focusing on creative projects and, like I said, this recording project, it looks different. So this season may look different for you, but if you recognize that there are different seasons, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel and know it won't always be like this. It really is. It comes down to a choice to make music a priority. You can weave it into the fabric of your daily life. Like it's maintenance for your creative spirit. But if it's really important to you, you'll find a way. Keep finding a way. Keep making a way. Don't give up on your art. You don't want to reach your final days only to look back and ask yourself, why didn't I sing more? So how can you identify where you can do some sprinkling and where you can do some pouring in your life? For your pouring, schedule it in like a spa day for your music. This is self-care for the soul. And sprinkling, how can you integrate it drip by drip into your life? I pray that you can keep sprinkling and keep pouring into your creative spirit, because the world needs your voice, but so do you. You need your voice. You need your creative spirit. You need to fill up your well, to water and care for your creative flower. Because this is part of you. This is part of who you are. And it's not going anywhere. Hey friend, thank you so much for listening. If this episode unlocked something in you or moved you in some way, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're streaming this, and share this episode with a friend who's been praying for a vocal breakthrough. Until we meet again, keep nurturing that song in your heart. Lots of love.